Thank you all for joining us today, especially on this sunny Saturday. We really appreciate your time, and we're excited to learn all about co-op from Shweta. So I'll hand it over to her and let it take it away.
Thank you so much, Kaylee, and thank you all for joining. A little introduction about me. I am Shweta Mishra. I come from India, and currently I am pursuing Masters in Information Systems. I joined in fall 2022, and it has been exciting since then. So before any delay, we all are looking for co-op, and we all are anxious. So I will just start. I'll just share my screen. And if you have any doubt, just, you know, stop me right there and then we can go on ahead. Uh, so mastering your co-op search, I wouldn't say this workshop is really helping you in mastering, but I really would want you to get some insight on what to do when you're looking for a co-op while you are doing an interview, and my own experiences of doing this whole journey of getting a co-op, and having that relaxing sigh for just like 5 minutes, and then you are back to your busy life, because the race never ends. It always keeps going. Even if you land a co-op, you will have to perform in the co-op. So it's just a never ending race. So we will be talking about being proactive, building your resume, preparation. D-Day means the interview days, and some tips and tricks we can discuss together. I would want this to be an interactive session, so you can speak up, or if you're shy, you can just chat. And Kaylee will be giving me some inputs if she sees on the chat. Going ahead. So, before all of this, I read a book called Atomic Habits, and it's there in library. It's there in Boston Public Library as well. And I would want you all to read it because it's a really good book. Uh, and finding a co-op, or going through this journey, you need to have it in your habit. Otherwise, it will become a pain, and very excruciating task that you have to do every day. But if it's a habit of solving one question a day, reading one chapter every day, and something like that, I think that will be helpful. So if you see on the left side of the screen, there is something called as the habit loop, which says that you need to find your motivation. Q means why I am doing this thing to get a co-op. There has to be a craving. The co-op will be good for my experience. It will make me learn. It will be good for my finances. So craving and response, like what will be the response if I build a habit? I might land up a co-op, or I will learn, and a reward. So and then at the bottom is how can you build a habit? It is make it obvious, like you for example, doing a lead code problem, you need to make a habit obvious, because if you keep, for example, I want to build a habit of eating fruit, and if I keep my fruit away from me inside the fridge somewhere deep, and I have to look for it, I will be lazy and I won't do it. So obvious, making it attractive. As I said, if I want to eat a fruit and I start with a hard fruit like pineapple, I need to cut it, I need to do all of the work. Instead, I'll just use banana. It's very easy. So make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Don't eat a fruit that you don't like. So don't start a problem that you don't like. Start with a problem that you like, a easy problem. So if you're just starting to learn how to code, I wouldn't say go on lead code and get demotivated. I would really ask you to learn the basics. What is different syntaxes means? How can you build a different logic? Start small, like building patterns, and building, sorting algorithms. All of these are like easy. Then you can go on the hard part, because that is what is the crux of all of this. You need to know to talk. So to need to know is you need to learn, you need to read, you need to work, you need to do the code. So I am mostly talking around coding because I am into software development. If you are into some other field, like data analysis and all of those, and I mean they have a different aspect, but obviously coding is something which is common to all. So that's why I was more emphasizing on coding. So make it obvious, like you keep your laptop handy in front of you so that you do not have to go to very far and get your laptop. Make it like a habit. Set a timer in your watch or your phone, so that it reminds you that this is the time I should start. So when you get up, you have 5 minutes of time. You may look for a problem, and then just look at the question and then go do your task, whatever there is. So that is what I do. Like, I look at a problem, I go do my task, I think about the problem, like what could I do to fix it, or what could I do to form a flowchart. And then I start looking for videos and Stack Overflow, Google, Chat GPT, everything, to find answer and then understand all of that. So that's the thing that I have built up in my past experience, and I would want you all to understand this because it has helped me a lot. So that's one bit. And then do your own SWOT analysis. We all know about SWOT. I added this because I felt that gave me more clear perspective on what job I want to look at. Because aimlessly I was trying to go for different jobs. For example, data analysis, which is not my strong uh, forte. I am more into software, and I am more into coding and not project management or and business analysis things. So I kind of figured out that what it is that I really want to do through this method. So I would say, find your strength, weakness, what are the threats through it, that if you just focus on, for example, a machine learning role, it's a very niche industry, so you need to have like two three, like I always think that sticking to one thing will not really land me a job. If I am very stringent and I say I really want to do just machine learning, it will not open up the opportunities. But if I find certain ways where I can do machine learning plus certain thing, I would look for those things. So it's just one thing that I do not want you to follow it. If you want, you can use it. I mean, everyone has different thing, but doing SWOT analysis and understanding yourself is very important. And this is all about you. So yeah, I would say, like, do this, and it should help you. So this was all about building habits. The next part is the star model. Obviously, we all know, we have done ENCP class. Everyone, I have done. I think you will be doing, or you would have done, and it is a common thing that everyone talks about, a star model. And while I'm talking about it, I also want to emphasize that when I was building my resume, I tried to add star model in my sentences, so that they can understand what is the result, which is quantifiable, and how I used my skills. And all of this has to be aligned to the job description that they have given. So for example, if it was a job description in which they needed someone who knew React and who knew Java, so I could find like my project, or I could find certain resources where I added those terms like in my resume. So that's like the first thing when you are applying to jobs, is building your resume. And while you build it, make it more relevant to the job description. That's how you get picked for further rounds. If you have a very irrelevant experience towards the job, and you would want to get into the job, I would say add it in your projects, because that's a space where you can have fun. So I have different projects in different fields, and I would want to add different projects. Like for a Python based role, I have a project where I have done certain data analysis, I have some results, and I have added it in the Git repository. So I can show that to them, that even if my experience is not aligned to it, I have an idea about how to work, and I have done these things. So just like I'm trying to make everyone understand, although I'm very scattered right now, but just like the crux is to have your job description uh, and your resume aligned with each other. So that was one. And using this model for your interview preparation is also a good thing, because you have a framework. I like to work in a framework perspective. So I always think in a framework thing, like I can do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So I build a situation, like they ask me, tell me about a challenging scenario in your job. So I build a scenario, a situation. What was the task in it? What action I took, and what result it gave me. It's easy to formulate a 1 minute answer, because they do not have a lifetime to you know listen to your whole story. You need to make it brief, and you need to make it easy, so easy to understand, and this way you can make it easy to communicate. So that's why I follow this in my resume as well as in your interview questions. So whatever the question is, I think a little before answering. I don't just jump on it, like I want to answer right away. I would think for a brief amount of time, and then I'll formulate my sentences as per the scenario or the star model. And that's why I really wanted to add this in this workshop, so that we all know that it's important and it's not just a ENCP class thing, because it helped me. Uh, Next is about networking. I mean, networking is one thing which has helped me, not just get the job, but when I am actually going to prepare for the job, I can go back and ask the seniors or people who are working in that company, to get an idea about what is the company like, or how are the interviews that they do. So that's why networking is very important. And these are like some tips that you can do for networking. Like networking is not just you get benefit, and only when you need something you just reach out to them. It's more of a way to make connection, like I really want to make friends, or I really want to have a mentor in my life. So I actually want networking in that perspective. And then it helps you in referrals, it helps you in finding jobs, it helps you in understanding if your resume is good or not. LinkedIn is really good social network place to do this kind of networking. Then there are job fairs that Northeastern provides. I have been to different sessions that Northeastern provides. And the first line, as it says, that show up when you have committed that you are going to attend a particular event or a meeting. You should show up there, so that you are there, and then only you can network, and then the trust builds. Building the relationships, as I said, it's not just like you just take advice. You should give advice as well. Utilize your expertise and help others. So if you have an opportunity where people are like posting things on LinkedIn. So I have seen a lot of posts where they talk about their work or their research, and I ask them, what is it about? Can I collaborate with you? And it's a volunteering thing. It's not something where I'll get anything out of it, but I'll get knowledge and I'll get the skills. So that's what my aim is. So if you have time to do that, utilize that, and then nurture the relationship. I mean, you try to be friendly, you try to keep in connect. I mean, we are all occupied, we have too many assignments and then co-op search and then everything, but uh, network is a very important thing also, because we are in a safe space in Northeastern, and here whatever network you build is going to help you in your future. So that's one thing that I also wanted to talk about. So that's all uh, about yourself. So if you have any question, do let me know, or we can go ahead, or tell me if I'm going fast.
We don't have any questions yet. Either if anyone does have questions, feel free to raise your hand and unmute, or you can put them in the chat and I can let Shweta know and we can read them out loud.
Yeah. That's great. So, just a recap, we can say that we learned about building habits. We learned about the star models and the networking part. Now we go on the real co-op search thing. So my journey of a co-op search was obviously hectic. There was assignment, there was a lot of other pressures, and then there was this rejection era that we all are going through. So I used to be very proactive in applying. So I always had a time set in my calendar to apply for certain roles, and obviously no mindless applying, that aligning your resume to the job description is very important. So I used to go at NU works, and it works. I have like my seniors and a lot of other people who are telling me that you might not get anything from NU works, but whatever calls I have got, they about being proactive. So whenever you see a new job post, get a notification so that you are aware and apply it as soon as possible. If you are late, the chances of you getting into the pool is hard. One thing that I liked is our co-op advisors uh, do send out the emails, and one of my job interview was because I sent the resume to him whenever he asked. So they are not bogus. I would say just have faith. It's not like always it will always be working, but just have faith that something or the other will come up, and with that faith, apply to the job. I mean, it's very hard because you might get rejected. There are like a lot of rejections. I have a lot of friends who are struggling, applying every day but still struggling. But I would say apply with the faith that you will get a job. So that's the most important part. Then yes, send emails for clarification. If you find emails in the job description, send an email. If the HR has contacted you and you want to know more about it, ask, send an email. And it's really important. And in this culture where I'm living, like in Boston and America, I feel like if you ask, you will get. So obviously asking is something very important. And I have been to different events like hackathons and different other networking events. I would ask you to go there, find emails, talk to them and ask them if they have any opening. They will share their emails. You can send them your resume, and then they can help you out in certain ways. So yeah, that helps. So I would really, really ask you to send emails, ask, you talk a lot, and then After your interview, this is something that I learned from my ENCP class. Again, not to boast about that class, but yes, thank you notes have helped me, because that is a good way of keeping the email chain working, because once the interview is done, you don't know what is going to happen. They might not reply anything for a week, and it becomes like a huge question mark, like where am I? So thank you so I send a thank you note after one day. So, like after a day has ended, I send the thank you note to HR and all the interviewees who have interviewed me, and then after that, I can use that email to follow up. So that's like my strategy of using my thank you note. So you should send that, and I try to add a little bit about what I liked about the conversation, so that it adds a little, because a simple thank you note chat GPT can write, but you can like write like, this interview I really enjoyed the conversation because of certain things. I got to know more about the role, or these are just examples that I'm thinking. So whatever comes to your mind, just send a thank you note and do follow up. So it's okay to follow up to after 1 week, then 1 week again. And if you are ghosted, you are ghosted. There is just no say to it. But then uh, that's something that you can do, and there is no harm in doing it. So that's about it. uh, about being proactive and applying with faith. Then after you are into the pool, obviously I spoke about lead code and all of that. So the common thing that I saw, that after you send a resume, you get an online assessment or a OA. So in that online assessment, you might get questions around aptitude tests like maths, English, those kind of questions, and then there are questions on coding. So you might have to answer certain questions around coding. There are MCQs. I have answered those type of questions. So just be comfortable and try to set up like 1 hour of time so that you do that, and try to do it as soon as possible. uh, I have seen like there were many companies where I got lazy or something came up and I couldn't do the assessment in few days. They generally give like a 5-day gap or a 7-day gap, and they do tell that this is the gap time. But as soon as you get an OA, I would just recommend that just get done with it, and see if you can do like all the test cases, and that you might get ghosted after that also. I was ghosted after doing my online assessment, and that's fine. I just do online assessment to learn. So so just do your online assessment, and after that there is a call that you might get, or a text message, or an email. I got all of the three. And they might ask, yeah, when are you available for your interview? Which is surprising because they do not, it's a surprise call. They do not give too much time to you know let you prepare for the interview. I always schedule my calls as soon as possible. Like if they say that I'm available from Monday to Friday, I would ask them, Monday and a time that is suitable to me, so as soon as possible, because they all are recruiting many people, and there are a lot of people. So they might like someone in this process, and you might just miss the opportunity. So just that thing in mind, that is what my strategy was like. Just schedule it as soon as possible. So that's why my previous slides were about habits and all of that, because you the day you start applying for your jobs, you start preparing for them, because you do not get the time to prepare for the job when you are in the process. So I would say, like, start preparing, and it has to be a habit. It is not a 1 or 2 day thing that you can prepare everything, because it's just huge. I mean, I cannot really know every Java questions there is in this world, but if I keep preparing, I will remember certain things and I can give an answer. And then, yeah, common questions that were asked to me were, tell me about yourself, why a certain company, why this company, why do you want to work with us, what you are interested in. So this was like, what are you interested in. So generally the companies are recruiting for, if you are in a software development or coding or around coding, it's more around, are you, do you want to become a data engineer, or do you want to become a software developer. So you just be sure about what you want to be. There is no right answer to it, but they just want to know that what is your interest, and they can, fit you in that job. So just be sure. Any questions for me is a very common question. And yeah, these are like a standard question that will definitely be asked. So be prepared with the scenarios, with different scenarios also, like a challenging situation in your job, or if you had to work as a team, what were your roles, how did you manage the team, all of those questions. There was one question that was interesting that was asked to me was, what do you do when you are stuck. So for example, you are stuck in a coding question, or you are stuck in a certain scenario. What do you do? So my answer was, obviously I go check the documentation. uh, First, I check with other people who I must have done the same task, and then I get to know about how can I do it, and then I do it. So those were the question you can get asked. Also, any question for me, like, prepare as many questions as you want, because there in while I was looking for co-op and I got one interview, there was this 30 minutes interview that I was giving, in which he asked me three questions. One is, tell me about yourself, why this company, and the third question is, what are you interested in. And then it got over in like 10-15 minutes, and I was like, okay, now. And then he asked me, do you have any question for me. Usually, do you have any question for me, you do not expect that it will be over so early. And it was a very very different situation, I felt. So and I didn't want that I can like in 15 minutes the interview gets over. I wanted the interview to last to the time it was, so that I can show more and tell them more about myself. So I kept asking questions that were relevant, like, what is the role that I'm going to work with, how are you really applying these tech stack in your company. And then I kept questioning them until 30 minutes, so that the conversation keeps going. So I would say these interviews, they are more around conversations and not interviews. So uh, keep that conversation going, to not be disheartened or um, shy about something. Just keep the conversation going. So that's my take when I was doing certain interviews. uh, and then, yeah, how to prepare for a job interview. So uh, these are the images I found on the Google, which is something very relevant, that nowadays it's all online interview, nobody is calling you in person. So and even if it's online interview, I dressed up properly. I had so I do not have like a good space at home, so I went and booked a Snell library, a study room, and I used that opportunity so that I have a quiet small room with blank background or a neutral background, so that no disturbance come. Good Wi-Fi, because college has good Wi-Fi, so I went there, and I was dressed well, uh, like as formal as possible. uh, I checked that my microphone, my camera, and all of this is working. So these are like basic things that needs to be done. I was on the meeting, uh, Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting before 5 minutes, so that you're not nervous. And I was prepared, how I looked in the camera, and I was just sure that, okay, I look really good and everything is fine. So just being on time, and all of this is something which you do in an in-person interview as well. But while you are on an online interview, it's very different, because right now I feel like I'm talking to a computer, and having an in-person is something which is more exciting, because I can liberate my energy and you'll get it. But yeah, now whatever it is, so we have to do it online. So just try to have those common things in place. Research about the company, yes, that's important. uh, ChatGPT gives you answers for a lot of companies, so you can just question that. But I would also go to the page to know more about the values of the company. And when you talk about the values, for example, if there is a company called Barclays, they have RISE, this kind of a value where they are interested in respect, integrity, service, excellence. So you if you know that, they will be impressed, because they know that, oh, you have read more around the mission and values of the companies, and you align your uh, job like your interview around those values, that yeah, I have integrity in me, I have these excellent things in me. So all of that is important. Be prepared with your resume. The first thing they do in an interview is, obviously, they read about yourself in the resume. So just be prepared with that. Read your resume carefully, that you know what you did and you can express everything. There is one scenario where they ask, so for a software development role, I was asked to share my screen and write a code. And there were times when I fumbled and I didn't know how to write the code, and it was okay with them that I write a algorithm. I told them the steps. And one thing that's most important is thinking out loud. You do not be silent for like 5 minutes and just write things. It's not good. And that doesn't really help them also. They want to know more about your thought process. So it's, if you are um, uh, shocked that, oh, they are going to ask me to write a code and it's going to be hard, because I mean, everyone knows that writing code is not that big of a deal, but thinking how you can make it is more important. So I would say that practice is something that helps you in reducing your anxiety. It helps me in reducing my anxiety. I'm generally very anxious when someone asks me to do something in front of them. It's very an anxious feeling. So I always like a friend who can do a mock interview for me before the job thing, so that whatever question they have, they can ask, and I'm prepared that, oh, I know how to do this. And tell them all the steps that you would do. Tell them different things that come in your mind. And it's okay if it is wrong. They're not there to check that. They're just there to check that if you're confident, if you can answer things on the go. And all of this comes from practice. I mean, I couldn't do the first time I was at an and it was disheartening. But then I kept working on my skills, so it will help me. And there is the one last tip that I have is, have a smile in your on your face. The recruiter do not have that smile. They are mostly like sad, or I don't know, there was this one lady who was very difficult, and it's hard. One, you are very anxious, and then uh, you are just very scattered. You don't know what to do, and then they have this weird face. But then you need to keep in mind that you smile and you show that energy in front of the camera. Like you use your hands more, you try to have like good eye contact in the camera. Even if they're not smiling, you keep smiling that, oh, I know this, I forgot, I can come back to you if you want. And then in your thank you note you can write that, I know the answer, I have found these things. That helps. One more thing that helps is be ready with all the projects that you have done. So if you're writing that you have done all of these projects, be ready to show them that if they are interested. For example, you are for a data science or data engineer role and they want to see your experience in Tableau. So be ready with your Tableau project, that see, I can share my screen and you can see what I did. And that helps you make your case more strong. I have done that in one of my interviews. And it's okay to share. So just share your screen, that I have this thing that is ready. I have done, for example, you are for a UI UX role. Just be ready with your portfolio that I have I have all of these websites that I had in my mind, and these are the designs that I've prepared, so that they can see, and offer that to them, that if you want, I can show you um, more of my work, or if you want, I can show you one of my exciting project that I had been working on. And then you can divert your interview in that direction. So be ready with that. And yeah, there is one question that our professor had told us that you should ask is, after the interview ends, when they ask, tell if you have any questions, you can say that, you know in my whole 1 hour of interview, or from my resume, is there anything that you would like to know more? And this interview question, I asked this to all of my recruiters, and that helped them give a chance to say, oh no, I understood most about your skills, and it's really fun to talk with you, and you get to know the tone of the interview, that, oh, is it going positive or is it going negative? So that question helped me decide that, uh, how the interview went. Then it also helps them to ask more questions if they have, and just be okay to give 10 or 10 minutes extra to the interview. So in one of my interviews, they did ask me if I can stay 10 minutes more for a certain question that they had. uh, and I said yes, because it's like an opportunity to show yourself, and you just be ready with that. So always plan your interview in like a time frame, like for 2 hours. Even if it's a 1 hour interview, you have like a 2 hour span for yourself. Like first half an hour, you are just preparing for the interview, getting ready at the place where you are. So I always went to college half an hour early, and then I sat for half an hour, thought of all the questions that could come, um, just spoke aloud uh, in the room by myself about different things that came in my mind, was ready with all my resumes on my laptop. 1 hour the interview went, and then if they want to extend, I have half an hour buffer in my hand. So that's like a way of managing your time, which I felt is very important. And yes, be confident, even if you don't know uh, the question's answer, and you have tried your best to tell them your perspective. Just be confident to say that this is how much I know. I can do a little more research and come back to you. So that's about interviewing. And then yes, resources. So assignments have helped me in cracking many of my interviews. So uh, I would say, you just do your assignment religiously. I am really grateful that I took a web design class and I got a full stack developer role. I have no experience in React. I was a Java developer prior. So, uh, because I used to do assignments and I had really good friends, I could answer the questions on JavaScript. So, there were different questions that he asked me on JavaScript, which I have no idea. So that's why I would like emphasize, like, do your assignments well, because it really helped me, and I didn't have to prepare extra for the interview. There are these two YouTube channel. There is something called as CodeDecode, and she has like a lot of interview questions that for different jobs, like for Java, for Python, for microservices, for data science also she might have. So she has different things, so you could just check for uh, this YouTube channel. There is one YouTube channel I really like for Java, so you can look for that. And then Career Studio has a lot of resources that I've seen. That, like, you can get your resume reviewed, your LinkedIn reviewed. You can also use them for your interviews. So there is a lot of resources around that. So I have just added those things. And also, like, if you have a particular role, for example, there was this data engineering role, I would look for like top 20 questions around data engineering. I had one interview for RPA developer. I have no idea what RPA development is. So it was robot process automation. But I looked for what questions could be asked in that interview. I read a little bit about it so that I know, and then I can answer the question that were thrown on me. So that's like resources, and that's about it for the presentation part.
Thank you so much for a wonderful session, Shweta. I learned a lot. It was really helpful to hear about your experiences during those interviews. And I think, it's really encouraging to hear that you were able to land a co-op even after, maybe searching for months. So it is possible. And I think that's a great attitude to have, and that we should all have is, put in the work, take the time, learn the habits, and it'll happen for you. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your time with us today and helping us learn a little bit more about how to maybe be better in our co-op search.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.